So the Uncle Tom character was introduced in a novel called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And here's a description of the character. The character was seen by many readers as a groundbreaking humanistic portrayal of a slave, one who uses non-resistance and gives his life to protect others who have escaped from slavery. All right, so right there we see that Uncle Tom isn't originally what isn't originally what we perceive it to be today, right? Because an Uncle Tom would be considered as a person that was snitching on slaves trying to escape. This is not the case of the original Uncle Tom character. In the novel Uncle Tom Cabin, Uncle Tom is depicted as a heroic figure, a slave who maintains his integrity and refuses to betray his fellow slaves in the cost of his own life. Here are some key elements about the book, and I'm just going to give a quick synopsis. So the book starts as he rescues little Eva while he's being transported to an auction in New Orleans. So Tom is about to be auctioned off as a slave, and he saves this little white girl. This impresses little Eva's father so much that her father decides to purchase him. Throughout the process of this book, Eve and Uncle Tom, or Thomas, develop this really strong connection, who he shares a devout Christian bond with. There's a lot of Christian themes in this book, but Lil Eve dies, and on her deathbed, she asks her father to free all the slaves that he has. Right? He actually dies before he's able to free all the slaves in the book, and then Tom is sold to a vicious plantation owner. Fast forward, Tom befriends a 15-year-old girl that is also a slave, and then down the line a few slaves escape. They capture Tom. Tom doesn't try to escape, but they hold Tom and try to get him to confess and snitch on the escaped slaves. He doesn't do it, and they actually beat him to death. This is the character arc in the Uncle Tom book, right? Um, it's based off of a real life. It has real life inspiration from a former enslaved man named Joshua Henson, who was living in Canada, that wrote his memoir. Why is this novel important? This novel is important because it increased Northern abolitionism. It brought slavery into the limelight, like nothing had ever done before. So this book was written in 1858. So this is really before the Civil War, right? The novel exposed the immorality of slavery. Why they needed a novel to expose this, but sometimes things are right in front of your face and you don't see them. So its characters depicted the daily lives of what slavery is like, which was uncomfortable. The closest thing I can compare to the impact this book had on the people during this time period that kind of gave them a real insight into slavery is Bloody Sunday. That's when the first march in Selma, they were attacked and beaten, and it was shown on national news. And it opened the eyes to a lot of people in white America that realized, wait a minute, we really didn't realize black people really had it this bad. I don't know why they would think that, but it opened their eyes. And then George Floyd, that murder also opened a lot of people's eyes to police brutality to the black community. So that's essentially what this book did. It opened their eyes to slavery, right? Because in the North, they didn't really have slavery. There were no slave states in the North. That was a Southern thing. It's not like it is now where you could travel to all these states really easily. What was going on in the South, they had no idea about. So this gave them an eye-opening experience of slavery. It also influenced the politics of Britain, which started to diminish their support for the Southern cause. And we know that the South really lost the war because British took away their support because they didn't support slavery, despite the fact that they were colonizing the majority of Africa and the Middle East. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. There was a cultural impact of this book. Listen to what the South did. They banned it. It was also banned by the Vatican, by the way. So the South banned the book. Why? Because it showed sympathetic character Uncle Tom. That was his name, his Uncle Tom's Cabin. They showed the sympathetic black character who was a slave who not only saved a little white girl, but also saved other escaped slaves by not giving them up. Think Denzel Washington, Equalizer, or Man of Fire. That's essentially what Uncle Tom was in this book. All right. Okay. How did we get to the point where Uncle Tom was this heroic figure, but then becomes this derogatory term that is used to describe a person as being disloyal to their people now? Well, quite simply, Uncle Tom became a character in minstrel shows, which did a complete 180 from his original conception of being a hero and made him a shifling buffoon that was catering to white people and docile and eager to please. It was a stark contrast from the original character. This led to a lot of civil rights leaders, right? It wasn't just the white depiction of Uncle Tom. The white depiction of Uncle Tom had such an effect on civil rights leaders that they started using that term to describe the black person that was against the advancement of black people. So that's how we got there. What was the original term for woke? It was to stay awake on those long rides in the South to make sure that you don't get pulled over by the cops because something bad could happen to you if you were black. That's what being woke was. Now, well, woke now, as described by a lot of people, is basically anti-black. That's how we get to Uncle Tom being derogatory. And so I know everybody is out there saying, Bruce, wait a minute. Okay, you did this whole intro about Uncle Tom, but you said you were going to talk about Stephen A. Smith and the Jason Whitlock controversy. When are you going to get to that? Actually, I'm going to get to it next. Okay. I prolonged the talk about this enough. I'm finally going to get to it. We're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock. If you like that clip, go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to catch up on all of our latest content. Don't forget to hit the notification button when you do subscribe so you can get updated every time we release content. We release content every day, whether it's an actual show or clips from the shows. So go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Also, don't forget our Patreon page where you can find our Talking Straight-ish and After Hours Uncensored episodes. That's patreon.com/unsolicited perspectives. But once again, thank you again for listening to Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, and I'm going to catch you next time. I'll holla.